There is said to exist a lizard-like creature, described as having glowing red eyes, with large fangs, that lurks in the forests of Latin America and the Southwestern United States. It comes out at night to stalk its prey of goats and cattle, and while under the cover of darkness, drains them of their blood. For over 70 years, farmers and locals have lived in fear of this elusive, vampiric monster, and according to recent reports, the attacks on livestock are increasing. Join us as we discuss the disturbing legend of the Chupacabra. Imagine waking to find your entire livestock lying dead in a field. As you inspect one of the bodies, you notice 2 puncture wounds in its neck. They're too precise to have been done by hand. You feel your heart race as your confusion is replaced by a creeping sense of fear and apprehension. Something about this scene feels wrong. It's then that you notice that the animal was completely drained of its blood. And it's not just one, but all your animals have been killed the exact same way. During the night, an unknown creature crept into your farm, slaughtered your entire livestock, and drank their blood. But you didn't hear anything to alert you of the massacre. When you speak to your neighbours, you find out that this wasn't the first time the creature has struck, and it wouldn't be the last. The legend of the Chupacabra has been muddied by decades of sightings and reports, and often these end up getting confused and meshed together to create one umbrella label for the Chupacabra phenomena. This is why descriptions of the Chupacabra are so varied. The first step in understanding the legend of the Chupacabra is to distinguish between the time of the reported accounts. The earliest accounts depicting the Chupacabra describe the creature as being humanoid, with lizard-like skin, and typically walks on 2 legs, whereas later sightings describe the creature as being canine in appearance, typically seen as walking on all 4s but hairless, with a pronounced spinal ridge, unusually pronounced eye sockets, fangs and claws. The second point of confusion is that the Chupacabra has only been called the Chupacabra, meaning goat sucker, since 1995. The sightings from 1975 not only describe an altogether different creature, but the creature is given a completely different name, the Vampire of Moca. The accounts in 1975 describe a phenomena that puts a whole new spin on the legend of the Chupacabra. It was late February 1975 when a Puerto Rican newspaper first reported strange animal deaths in Rocha, a barrio municipality in Moca. A total of 15 cows, 3 goats, 2 geese and a pig were found with puncture marks on their bodies, indicating a sharp object of some sort had been inserted into them. The autopsies all showed that the animals had been drained of their blood. On the 12th of March came the first reports of unidentified aerial phenomena over the skies of Moca. A man named Luis Torres and his son and daughter witnessed something they described as looking like the lights on a police cruiser, spinning over some fields on the outskirts of Moca. The next day, there were reports of the animals in one of those fields having been killed in an unusual manner. Between the 15th of March and the start of April, there were 3 more reports of animals being killed and drained of their blood. By April, the reports of the strange deaths were coming in from farms all across the island of Puerto Rico. And with there being no answers to the strange events, some farmers took things into their own hands. One farmer, Isuare Melgar, mounted a night watch with armed neighbours and spread poison on the ground to protect his rabbits after some of his animals were killed the night before. At 3 in the morning, the group went home, and the following morning, Melgar found yet more of his animals killed. 3 days later, on the 5th of April, during another night watch, Melgar and his companions were deafened by a sudden noise that seemed to fill the entire countryside, and they watched as a strange figure ran away through the trees and away from his open pastures. When they went to investigate, they discovered that 4 more goats had been killed. As the strange animal deaths continued, so did reports of UFOs and lights in the sky. A short time later, a giant cigar-shaped object with rectangular portholes was reported over the suburb of Kupi. The next morning, scorch marks were found on the ground under where the object was seen. The strange killing of animals drained of their blood, and reports of lights and UFOs in the sky continued for 3 more months, but the activity slowly decreased, and after July that year, the reports of the deaths and lights in the sky abruptly stopped. There wouldn't be another report until March 1995, when 8 sheep were discovered dead in Puerto Rico. Each had 3 puncture wounds to their chest and were drained of blood. A few months later, Madeline Tolentino would see the creature. Her account and description of the creature would become one of the most iconic depictions of a cryptid in history. It was the evening of August 1995, and Madeline was helping her mother move into her house when she saw a vehicle stop outside. She looked outside, wondering who it could be, and it was then she noticed that the driver of the car was staring ahead, frozen in his seat, his eyes wide with fear. The driver slowly reversed and drove away. She approached the window to better see what was causing the terrified reaction of the driver. It was then she saw a creature, about 4 foot tall, walking on 2 long, skinny legs, with feet that only had 3 toes, walking tentatively down the road, evidently wary of the car. It had 2 long arms, which terminated in hands, with 3 long, skinny fingers, and had wrinkly grey skin like wet leather, covered in short hair, but there were patches of exposed, pinkish purple skin that looked like burn marks. As it drew nearer, she could make out the facial features of the creature. Its face was flat, with slanted, wraparound eyes. Its nose was 2 little holes in the face that sat above a mouth that was little more than a slit. Its eyes were completely grey. When the creature turned, she noticed something odd. It appeared to have reddish feathers that were flat to its back. Suddenly, the creature turned to face her. She didn't know if the creature was looking at her or in her general direction, but she released an involuntary scream that drew the attention of her mother, who left the house to confront the creature. But due to either her scream or the sound of her mother rushing out of the house, the creature hopped like a kangaroo into the woodland opposite and away. Later, a local UFO enthusiast drew a picture based on her description, and the story quickly spread. The creature would later be given the nickname Chupacabra from a local comedian, and the legend of the Chupacabra was born. Subsequent investigations would dismiss the testimony of Madeline Tolentino as nothing more than the statement of someone caught up in the hysteria of the animal deaths. This was reinforced when it was pointed out that her description of the creature bore similarities to the hybrid alien in the horror movie Species that had hit cinemas in Puerto Rico a month before Madeline reported her sighting. But is it fair to dismiss her account so quickly? While there are undoubted parallels with the creature in the movie, there are some significant differences, such as the height, the feathers and the fur, as well as the creature being described as hopping like a kangaroo, which is nothing like the creature in the movie. Simply dismissing her account out of hand for this reason doesn't begin to attempt to explain or understand what she could have seen. Nor does it explain the fact of hundreds of animals being killed in a relatively short time period. It's possible that she saw something that was simply beyond her comprehension or understanding, and when reporting what she saw, the reasons her description matched so closely to the movie was that the creature depicted on screen was the only adequate frame of reference for which she could articulate her sighting. If this is the case, then she saw something extraordinary, and her account deserves more consideration. Besides, she wasn't the only witness to come forward with this same description. There are literally hundreds of reports of a strange bipedal creature being seen attacking and killing rabbits, goats, cats, dogs, and even cows. And while there are variations between the reports, they generally agree on the height, humanoid appearance, and shape of the eyes. The next spate of sightings and animal deaths attributed to the Chupacabra wouldn't occur until the 2000s, but descriptions of the creature bore no resemblance to what was reported nearly a decade earlier. This time the creature was described as being dog-like, but dark and hairless, yet it didn't resemble any known species of canine. One significant difference in the recent sightings is that witnesses have been able to capture not only photographic evidence, but also the dead bodies of the Chupacabras and have sent these for DNA testing. One of the most famous being the body discovered by Phyllis Canyon. She and neighbours took photographs and even preserved a head in one of Canyon's freezers before turning it over to authorities to perform a DNA analysis. The DNA was later confirmed to be that of a coyote, although the physical traits of the animal did not resemble any known species of coyote. So far, all DNA tests on the Chupacabras found since 2000 have shown the animal to be a variation of mutated canine. Theories have ranged from the Chupacabra being nothing more than a strange canine hybrid afflicted with mange, to the creature being of extraterrestrial origin, perhaps an alien that was marooned following the spate of lights in the sky in the 1970s, or an escaped science experiment, and point to the presence of the Caribbean Primate Research Center on the island to support this. There are less well-known accounts of a monkey-like creature being seen attacking pets in the 90s. One account, dated November 1995, reported a creature they described as being 4 foot tall, looking like it belonged to the monkey family, and running like a monkey, but not a monkey exactly, coming from the brush and attacking the family dog. 8 months later, in July 1996, science fiction would become science fact when in Scotland, Dolly the sheep was successfully cloned. There had been 276 failed attempts, a majority of which resulted in physical deformities. So perhaps it's not so far-fetched to suggest there would have been other science laboratories around the world, including the Caribbean Primate Research Center in Puerto Rico, carrying out similar cloning experiments on animals, including primates, and that perhaps a deformed clone of a primate had somehow escaped. If someone had seen a deformed monkey that seemed humanoid in appearance but didn't fit with any known species on Earth, it would be understandable if someone thought what they were seeing was something alien. While skeptics will point to the most recent Chupacabra reports of the 2000s as being a mutated canine of some sort, as a catch-all explanation for the Chupacabra phenomena, this misses the nuance of the history of the Chupacabra reports. The reports of the 1970s are unique, as humanoid creatures were reported decades before the movie Species was released, and these reports would accompany a sighting of lights in the sky. The reports of 1995 centered around a humanoid, lizard-like creature with feathers that moved like a kangaroo. and the reports of the 2000s describe a canine-like creature, and this is verified by photographs and DNA samples. As these events depict very different phenomena with very different descriptions of the creature, it would be reasonable to suggest that what has been reported are 3 separate strange events. The only connection between these events being the geography and where these events occurred, and the inexplicable nature of the deaths that followed wherever the Chupacabra was sighted. But until there is more evidence uncovered, the legend of the Chupacabra is likely to remain unexplained. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, share and subscribe. It makes such a difference to small channels like these. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening.